I think oftentimes we severely underestimate the impact that we have on other people and that other people have on us, especially when it comes to people that we barely know or we only meet once, and if we're lucky enough to meet a couple times in our life. I want to focus mostly on those because I feel like the impact that those who are closest to us are at least a little bit more obvious. You know, our loved ones, our family, our closest friends, our lovers, those impacts are a little bit more noticeable to us, but we're still unconscious of the full spectrum of the impact of that individual. We don't really notice it until they're not around us anymore or something happens. And, that's quite unfortunate. But what if we could get to the point where the interactions that we have with just random people that we barely know, that we maybe only meet one time, what if we can make those interactions more impactful? What if we can get to the point where we are becoming more aware of the impact of these conversations and these meetups? Because they're not just happenstance, everything happens for a reason. I think it's very important because what really happens here is that when you meet somebody, you're not just having one conversation with them. There are multiple conversations going on at the same time. You have the unconscious conversation, which is the one that everyone pretty much engages in when they first meet someone. And by unconscious, I mean this is the most obvious conversation that we have with somebody. The most obvious one. This is the conversation, not saying that either party is, non-intelligent or aware or something like that, or woke or whatever, but this is the conversation that we have with most people initially, is this sort of unconscious conversation. Then you get the conversation between two people's souls. This conversation definitely takes on a lot more depth because it's this conversation where a lot of this information comes through and a lot of this inspiration and the impact comes through, because you can meet somebody only once. Maybe you have a conversation with them at the store or at the mall or at the gas station, or maybe they can just be a client of yours that you may only see one time, or maybe you see them a couple times throughout the year. And to you, in the unconscious conversation, it could just be like, business as normal. Things are going just the way that they've always gone. But then your souls are talking to each other. Your moon signs are talking to each other. And that's really important. It's very important to become more aware of these conversations, because there's actually a good chance that you've traveled with this other individual in previous lives. They could have been a family member, they could have been a friend, they could have been a lover, or in that life, they could have also been an individual that you just randomly met one time. But maybe this soul comes back into your life every so often to sort of remind you of who you are. And then you have the third level of conversation, which is the spirit. And this conversation is fun because it pretty much makes the unconscious conversation null and void. The soul, the communication between two people's souls, takes the unconscious conversation into perspective. But ultimately, even the spirit sort of makes the soul's conversation even null and void, because the spirit knows, your spirit knows that none of this really matters. All that matters is that we simply be. So, and then the soul's conversation, of course, these are the conversations where, you're definitely telling each other maybe secrets, inspiring each other, motivating each other. Imagine if we can get to the world to a point where when we meet a random person or we walk by someone on the street, that we're not clutching our bag in fear, or we're not awkwardly looking away and not wanting to make eye contact, because they say that the eyes are, the doorway to the soul. The reason why conversation in this world is broken down so damn much is because we're not even acknowledging each other's souls. Imagine if a world where the majority of the population began to rise out of the unconscious conversation to the soul conversation, began to acknowledge each other's souls and not each other's unconscious self. Then, of course, we can get to the spirit conversation, which knows that this is all a game, knows that we really shouldn't take things too seriously, and knows that, we are just in this incarnation at this particular time, and that's just what we're doing right now. And is there really any point to this? I guess the point will be evolution and expansion, but the point is what you make of it. But this is about taking our level of impact and realizing that every single person that we meet has an impact on us. It may seem small at the start. I think oftentimes what happens is that we can see the impact of individuals who are close to us, and we make them huge and big and the most important. And in many cases, they still are, because you wouldn't be traveling with them in close proximity in this incarnation for no reason. But we should not neglect the conversations and the impact that we have on other individuals that we may only meet once in our lifetime, and we may only have a 5-minute conversation. If we can elevate those interactions with those individuals and begin to recognize what the souls are saying to each other, we'll realize just how beautiful this world is and how beautiful and perfect the universe is.